Hurricane Irma has made landfall over the Florida Keys as an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane. It is the strongest hurricane to make landfall in Florida since the infamous Andrew of 1992. The pressure is down to 929 millibars, the winds are 130 miles per hour, and it has made landfall near CUDJOE Key in the lower Florida Keys at 9:10 a.m. Eastern Time on September 10th, 2017. That's from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. Forecaster Chris Lancy and forecaster Mello. I should note that a 106 mile per hour wind gust was just reported in Big Pine Key, and no doubt the eye wall is just pounding the Florida Keys right now. You can see as we zoom in here, Marathon, you're not far off from the right side, the right front quadrant of the eye wall, and the storm surges are pushing over the Florida Keys, and the system is headed towards the mainland. I'm Mike Naso from the IPR video update page here on YouTube with another morning update on Irma. You can see the visible satellite imagery there. The eye is showing up here. It is over the Keys, although you can't see the Keys on this imagery. Sorry, been talking a lot the last few days, a few weeks with this hurricane season. You can see the motion is north-northwest, which is bringing it closer to the coast the way it slopes out here near Marco Island and Naples. So we could be seeing a landfall in that general vicinity in just a couple of hours. Regardless, very strong hurricane force winds being reported across the southern peninsula of Florida. And of course, where you have that onshore flow, you're going to see high waves crashing, storm surge, just a very, very nasty situation. The storm surge threat is the main potential killer with this hurricane. This is a graphic out of the Tampa Bay National Weather Service, and you can see the predicted storm surge, the extreme threat in the Everglades, Naples and Marco Island, Sanibel Island, including Fort Myers, and then you still have high surge towards Cape Coral, Charlotte Harbor, areas up towards Sarasota and Tampa, with the expectation, of course, that the track was going to go a little parallel the coast. Should it make landfall, you could see maybe a little bit decreased values further north, but increased further south. Regardless, a major hurricane as it pulls up the coast of Florida. You can see the water inundation levels. They go pretty far inland, and this is for about 10 feet of surge. Now, what you're missing here is that Marco Island is over here, and you have a Sanibel Island right up here. And so a lot of these little low-lying barrier islands, if anybody stayed on them, they're going to have to get to higher ground because the water rise is going to come very fast. It's going to come very fast, and you're going to have crashing waves on top of that. So from Marco to Sanibel all the way up to Captiva, there's going to be significant storm surge flooding, and that is a very serious threat with this hurricane. You can see the wind profile with it shows that the strongest major hurricane winds, they're now over the Keys. This is as of 8 a.m. the storm's moved, and the tropical storm force winds extending up through the Florida peninsula. And so those extreme winds, those hurricane force winds and major hurricane winds, they're going to rip right up the west coast of Florida. And so you can see the extreme wind threat areas that, if you track hurricanes, you're very familiar with. Charlotte Harbor, Tampa, all the way up towards Cedar Key. You guys are going to have extreme winds throughout the afternoon into the evening, and then higher winds further inland. And remember, all you need is a good gust to 40 or 50 to knock out power lines. That's a moot point. Power's out in a lot of areas. We're already starting to see the hurricane winds affect southeast Florida, to say nothing of what is coming to the west coast with Irma. Now again, clearly it's going to be interacting with land, and the upper level environment is not quite as favorable as it was, so it will probably be weakening to a Category 3 as it comes right up the west coast of Florida there, but still a very major hurricane. Right now still a Cat 4 sitting over the Keys, and you can see it's a large size storm. The cloud shield extends all the way from the Carolinas down to Cuba, which is why it's causing such havoc. There's a better look at it a little closer. Look at the bubbling on the visible satellite over the right eye wall, right over areas like Big Pine Key. These are beautiful areas to anybody who's been in the Keys, and so it's going to be very devastating. A Category 4 hurricane is nothing to mess around with. And oddly enough, this is the first time ever that two Category 4 hurricanes have hit the United States in the same year. Of course, we had Hurricane Harvey hit Texas as a Category 4, and now Hurricane Irma. And Hurricane Irma's pressure is about as low as the Great Miami Hurricane of 1926. Now, Hurricane Andrew was at 922 millibars. This one isn't quite at that level. It's at 929 millibars, but just a hurricane that intense, very rare. So they happen, and it's happening right now in the Florida Keys with Irma. Here's the computer model spaghetti plots. They've kind of shifted back east like they were doing earlier this morning when I showed you they were a little bit more offshore. Now they're coming in. So the precise landfall location in the mainland could be Everglades City, Marco Island, Charlotte Harbor, maybe even Sarasota. Still a little bit uncertain, but nevertheless the impacts are going to be widespread all the way up through Tallahassee, Georgia. You guys got inland tropical storm warnings for areas of Atlanta, further north, outside of the Panhandle, because the expectation is that this thing is going to take a while to uncoil, and when it does, it's going to uncoil and cause heavy winds and heavy rains all the way up into the southeastern United States over the next 24 to 36 hours. So as Irma makes that level of approach, it's not just the coastline. That's going to be the storm surge and the major hurricane winds, but we're still going to have big problems inland as this historic hurricane pushes ashore. Another look at the radar, you can see Key West, Big Pine Key over here just got pounded with the eye wall. It's now moving back over water further north. Marathon, you are right near the right eye wall of a Category 4 hurricane. So again, everybody just wishing for the best for the Florida Keys as they go through this intense storm. And as we drag it towards the north-northwest, areas further north, Marco, Sanibel, Captiva, Charlotte Harbor, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, you guys are under the gun from a very serious major hurricane making its approach in the next couple of hours on the west coast of Florida. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on dangerous Hurricane Irma making landfall in Florida as a Category 4 storm. I'll be back with frequent updates. See you guys next time.